Gone Global. Leading Britain's conversation. The Nigel Farage Show.
Mr. Nigel Farage.
Thank you, Donald, and good evening, everybody. Well, I'm here in Washington, D.C., where, of course, yesterday, Trump's former lawyer, Cohen, gave testimony, said some very damning things about the president, and overnight, we learn that the talks with Kim Jong-un have actually stalled. Donald Trump's walked away, says the deal on the table wasn't good enough. We'll talk a lot about Trump, about American politics, because we've not been looking at it much because of Brexit, and maybe that's not surprising. And once again, news hits us. This time, it's George Eustice, Conservative Member of Parliament from Cornwall, from Camborne and Redruth. Now, George was somebody who back in 1999 did stand for UKIP in the European election, so he's got a good Eurosceptic background to him, but he has stood down as Agriculture Minister, and he's said some really pretty strong things. Yes, he wants to be free to participate in the critical debate over the weeks ahead, but he does say this. He says, and he's upset with Theresa May, that she's actually going to put an extension of Article 50 on the table. He says that if we do extend Article 50, it will be the final humiliation of our country. We cannot negotiate a successful Brexit unless we are prepared to walk through the door. So George Eustice resigning, saying we absolutely have to keep a no-deal WTO Brexit on the table, and that an extension would be the final humiliation for our country. And it's really interesting. He's the 27th member of Theresa May's government to resign. She has had, in her short spell as Prime Minister, more resignations from her government than Margaret Thatcher, who was not exactly uncontroversial, that Margaret Thatcher had in the whole 11 years that she was Prime Minister. So the Tory party clearly in big trouble. But what about the Labour Party? I mean, here was Tom Watson, Deputy Leader, speaking on Sky News earlier on today.
I'm very worried about it. I think there are still a number of my colleagues who are perilously close to leaving. And I've described this as a sort of battle for the soul of the Labour Party. And for lots of reasons, all of them understandable.
So people are peeling off in all directions. Ministerial resignations, people leaving the Labour Party, people leaving the Conservative Party. And it raises quite a big question. I'm asking you tonight, who do you think currently represents you? And maybe you're beginning to feel that actually none of these parties genuinely represent the way you feel about Brexit, about the country. And if you think faith has been lost in these parties, please call 0345 6060 973. Or maybe you think, do you know what? However tough it is, I'm sticking with the Labour Party, the Tory party, whatever else it may be. If you're sticking where you are, if you've got confidence still in your party, let me know why, given the ructions that are happening. You can do that by texting to 84850. Or is what's happened with the independent group, does that actually tell us that our two-party system is broken, it can't cope with Brexit? Do we need fresh political parties in British politics? Would we then feel actually represented? And please tweet using the hashtag Farage and LBC at LBC. And of course, Facebookers, you can watch us and you can comment there too. I have to say, I can't think of a time, certainly in my lifetime in politics, where these parties were feeling, I think, further and further away from a huge number of voters. I get by text immediately, a third of all Scots voted Leave, and not one SNP MP respects that vote. So where does that leave the voters without a voice in Scotland? Andy in Aberdeen, you're right, and I think actually it isn't just the Labour and Tory parties that Brexit's done huge damage to. It's doing huge damage to the SNP as well. Nigel, I regret to say that most MPs are not just unrepresentative. In a lot of cases, they're downright useless, either by ineptitude or design, is what I get from Tad in Cambridge. Let's go to Derby. Let's speak to Shane, a new caller to the show. Welcome, Shane.
Hiya.
So,
great fan.
Do you feel represented by anybody in Parliament, Shane? Can you say the Tories represent you or the Labour Party represent you?
They are all the same. They are the lowest form of human pus I can think of, basically.
Have you always felt like that, Shane?
I voted in '97 for Labour.
Uh-huh.
Big mistake. I voted Conservative to get them out, and then I voted UKIP in the last one to get them out.
Right.
But now I'm just praying for the Martian Party to come down and liberate us all, basically. 'Cause no matter who we vote for in this country, they're all the same. Even these Tigger lot that's decided to go off somewhere else.
Yeah.
They're the same people who actually we've been voting for previously. So there's no change. We need a fresh new change in this country.
And if that fresh new change doesn't come, Shane, who would you vote for? Who would you vote for in the next election?
In the next election, oh wow, somebody has literally got to stand out from the crowd.
And if not, would you be tempted? I mean, clearly you're someone that goes out and votes in elections. If things didn't change, would you be tempted to perhaps stay at home?
No, I would actually go out and spoil my paper as a protest vote.
Okay. Shane, thank you. Well, Shane there sounding pretty disenchanted with the whole shooting match. Alex is calling from Cheltenham. Good evening, Alex.
Evening, Nigel. Nice to get to speak to you.
Good to get to speak to you. So,
Nigel,
Alex,
to be honest...
Come on. Inspire me. Tell me politics is still working, Alex.
I did used to feel represented, okay? Because you were running UKIP and you scared the Tories. But the problem is, you left too soon, Nigel.
What, 25 years? Not long enough, Alex?
Well, yeah, but you left as soon as the whistle had been blown. And if you'd have carried on, the Tories would have been worried about you. They'd have been scared of you. They weren't scared of Paul Nuttall. They weren't scared of Henry Bolton. And now, Gerard Batten, it's like you've gone down the rabbit hole. It's literally like UKIP is run by a more stupid and racist version of David Brent off The Office. It's terrible.
Well, that's strong words. Right, so you think UKIP was holding the Tories to account, holding the system to account. The problem is, Alex, that once we had Brexit, and in particular, once the MPs voted for Article 50, overwhelmingly, what UKIP voters said is, thank you very much, you've done your job, you can go home now.
But do you know what? I just think you should have stayed a bit longer, Nigel. But what I would say to you is where I've been listening to you this week, and you're saying about if there is a referendum between May's deal and Remain, you'll stay at home.
Yes.
You've got to encourage people to go and spoil their papers, to engage and show their displeasure with the situation. Because, if 4 million people don't bother voting, then, to be honest, the establishment will be quite happy. If we had a referendum with 4 million spoiled ballots, that would send a very clear message.
I mean, in a democracy, Alex, you are free to exercise your vote. You can vote, you can spoil a paper, you can stay at home. Of course, all of those things you're free to do. It was very interesting in the second round of the French presidential election about 20 months ago. Millions of French people faced with the choice of Macron or Le Pen. Millions of French people did spoil their papers. And kind of if you do spoil a paper, you feel better about yourself. But does it really achieve anything?
Well, it achieves more than going on holiday, Nigel.
Right. Well, maybe you've shifted me towards a spoiled paper, Alex. But all I'm saying is that I do think if there ever was a second referendum, and I don't see much demand for it, but if that was the choice we were given, it wowould be an outrage. And that was the point I was making. Thank you, Alex, feeling that UKIP should have stayed as a strong party and things would be a bit more honest. Christopher is calling from Woking. Good evening, Christopher.
Hi, Nigel. How are you doing?
Well, I'm doing all right, but I think I'm watching the two-party system breaking apart, fragmenting.
Oh, yeah, well, you've got the independent group and now the Brexit Party, so you've got new groups on the block. I'm concerned that the Brexit Party will just become a single-issue party and will eventually just, become irrelevant. I think the Brexit Party should be free market capitalist and make up for the right of centre ground that the Tories have given up.
Well, there's certainly a big gap in British politics there, Christopher. Of that, there is absolutely no doubt. I mean, I genuinely, and we've done this here on this show, appeal to people who are self-employed, sole traders, and they feel completely unrepresented by Westminster at the moment. The point about the Brexit Party was that it was set up to say to Westminster, deliver Brexit, because if you don't, we'll take you on in a European election and you might be surprised by the result. So that's why it was set up that way. And you say single issue, but actually, isn't Brexit dominating everything? Isn't it the issue?
Well, it is, but, in a worst-case scenario, if Brexit gets called off or if it gets delayed, the Brexit Party needs a bit more influence, particularly in the general election. And you remember when Carswell and Reckless won their by-elections, those were on single issues. In general elections, you need to have more than that. And, if you focus on single issues, Brexit Party will hardly win any seats in the Commons unless you focus on more issues and campaign locally, like the Lib
Well, let's
Dems
be clear.
do.
I mean, let's be clear. The Brexit Party has just been set up. It's very, very new, and it is there specifically to try and hold a sword of Damocles over MPs in Parliament and to say we'll fight those European elections. After that, who's to say what it might do? Christopher, I mean, who do you currently vote for?
I vote Tory, and I'm a member of the Conservative Party as well.
Oh, are you? Right. So, how does it feel to be part of that tribe right at the moment?
It's pretty depressing, to be pretty honest. If Brexit is called off, or if a lot of Tory MPs vote through Theresa May's deal, I'm quitting the party.
Okay. And so has George Eustace done the right thing today, in your view?
Yeah, he has. And, if there's a big battle ahead and he's a bit restrained in government, then I respect his decision. Okay,
well, Christopher, I have a feeling, and thank you for your call, I have a feeling that a lot of Conservative Party members are doubting their membership, and I think quite a few Labour ones probably are too. You're listening to The Nigel Farage Show here on LBC. It is now 6:15 and time for the news headlines with Philip Chrysikos.
A woman who killed her husband at their Surrey home in 2010 has won a landmark appeal against her murder conviction. An Italian national has been jailed for 3.5 years for an attack on a Liverpool football fan outside Anfield Stadium. Government Minister George Eustace has resigned in opposition to a potential delay to Brexit, saying the EU will dictate the terms of any extension. LBC weather, dry this evening and overnight, a low of 5 degrees. Tomorrow, showers ahead of sunny spells from the west, a high of 13 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Dave Goff. On the M25 anti-clockwise, it's slow because a mobile crane's broken down between junction 11 for Chertsey and junction 10 for the A3, so one lane stays closed. Also on the M25 anti-clockwise, there are queues from junction 22 for St Albans to junction 19 for Watford after an accident earlier on. There were delays on the A3 southbound from the Malden junction to the Tolworth junction after 2 separate accidents earlier on. On the trains, Thameslink services are suspended between Rainham and London Bridge because of an investigation. That also means South Eastern services are suspended eastbound from Barnhurst and Crayford to Dartford and from Victoria to Lewisham. And on the tube, there are severe delays on the District Line between Edgware Road and Wimbledon. That's because of a signal failure.
This is LBC.
Protecting your business from cybercrime is a growing priority, yet understanding how to stay ahead of potential threats is challenging. Whether you're a startup or an established business, BT is here to help. With a wide range of security-embedded products and services built especially for businesses. Find out more and enter to win a Microsoft Surface Pro tablet and Sony wireless headphones at lbc.co.uk. BT, helping business relationships stay on track.
Hi, I know you own a small business and I'm wondering if you're interested in some very well-paid new work. Funnily enough, did you know that about 59% of new customers don't leave a voicemail? Luckily, I'm not one of them. So call me on 074...
Don't cut off new business. Manage and divert your calls with eReceptionist so you'll never miss an opportunity again. Sign up for a free 30-day trial now at eReceptionist.co.uk. T's and C's apply. See website for details.
When the world's largest firework burst, it was 1,000 metres wide. For a rocket, that's big. But it's not Euro Millions big. This Friday, there are 40 guaranteed UK millionaires. Boom! Euro Millions. Amazing starts here.
Rules and procedures apply. Players must be 16 or over. If you or your loved one has mild Alzheimer's disease, St Pancras Clinical Research in London would like to hear from you. We're looking for people aged 50 plus with mild Alzheimer's to take part in a new clinical research study. All volunteers will be paid for their time and reasonable expenses. To find out more about the study and apply, visit stpancrasclinicalresearch.com. That's stpancrasclinicalresearch.com.
It's gardening week from Thursday in the middle of Lidl. Get a Parkside pressure washer for $99.99, a Florabest greenhouse only $39.99, and a Florabest 30-metre flexible hose set just $19.99. So spring into action from Thursday the 28th of February. Lidl, big on quality, little on price. Subject to availability, selected stores, excludes NI.
As the managing director of a plant and transport business that's growing fast, I know all too well that getting new depots up and running should take hours, not days.
Vodafone's secure cloud and hosting solutions help Explore Transport get their new depots working at full speed from day one, no matter where they're based and without the need to wait for any on-site infrastructure to be installed. Search Vodafone Business to discover how we're so much more than mobile. Vodafone. The future is exciting. Ready? Subject to area availability, minimum terms apply. Details at vodafone.co.uk. Business.
Your business has come this far, but now's your time to soar into the skies of spectacular with a fast, affordable Funding Circle business loan. With decisions in as little as 24 hours and a dedicated account manager, there's no waiting around. So join the thousands of businesses who have taken out a Funding Circle loan and help your business fly. Apply today at fundingcircle.com. Authorized and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. T's and C's apply.
Life is full of so many things. Happy things, sad things, and surprising things. You've got commuting things, typing things, planning things. With all these things, it's easy to forget you need to eat something. So open the Uber Eats app to order a sushi thing, a burger thing, or perhaps that new thing. Sit for a minute and enjoy that thing, and then get back to all your other things. Uber Eats. Get food delivered wherever life takes you. Download the app today. Available at selected times in selected locations.
The Nigel Farage Show, live from Washington only on LBC.
Well, the instability in British politics continues as Tom Watson, Deputy Leader of the Labour Party, warns that other MPs are perilously close to quitting the Labour Party, and George Eustace, Cornish MP, leaves the government, making it clear that he really completely objects to the idea of extension even being put on the table. He says an extension of Article 50 would be the final humiliation of our country. So who out there actually represents us these days? And what should we do? And some of you have said you wouldn't vote. Some of you have said you'd spoil papers. But on Facebook, Kevin says don't spoil papers. It gives your vote to the leading party of the day. Joanne thinks voting should be compulsory. I don't, Joanne. I think in a democracy you should be free to use your vote or to withhold it. And Jacqueline says there should be a box on the bottom that says none of the above, and quite a few people think that. Marilyn from Wimbledon says only the ERG are representing leavers, the rest are a disgrace to democracy. So some pretty strong opinions. British politicians are seen to be in it for themselves rather than for the nation. This negotiation has been a shambles with the Tories, undermined by Labour, and no clue how to proceed, says Richard from York. Well, at the moment, I'm not finding much support for anybody. In fact, Chris in Darlington says, no party represents me. Labour are for Remain. So are the Lib Dems. If you vote Tory, you get Dominic Grieve, and UKIP are more bothered with Muslim extremism than Brexit. So Chris pretty much given up with everybody. I could be wrong, but I just think that we are feeling more disconnected from our parties right now than we have ever done in modern British history, and I think that tells us that perhaps very big change could be coming. Alice is calling from Notting Hill. Good evening, Alice. You're a new caller to the show. Welcome.
Thank you, Nigel. Good evening.
So, who represents you, Alice?
The truth is, even though I can't vote, I do feel as though the people just aren't being represented currently in Parliament. Especially, I feel very disappointed in the Conservatives. I signed up to be a member of the Conservatives, but I feel as though they're working with the EU to undermine the democratic mandate of the people. And it's really quite shocking.
Alice, why can't you vote?
We don't have a party with a leader who believes in Britain and believes in Brexit. And I feel as though me and many others want a leader to guide the country at this time of crisis, and there just doesn't seem to be one.
Now, the narrative... Well, that's very sweet of you, but the narrative we get, Alice, and we see it again and again, through our media, is that all young people think that Brexit's a disaster and we should stay part of the European Union. Dare I ask how old you are?
I'm 17 years old, and I'm very passionate about Brexit. In fact, I go outside to Westminster protesting.
Oh, do you?
As much as I can, yeah, and I attend the Leave Means Leave events.
Right, okay, so, and are you, amongst your age group, living in West London, are you considered a bit of an oddity for having that view?
Definitely. Yes, yeah, I am definitely a minority in my school.
Yeah, I bet you are. All right, so what you're looking for is something fresh and new, so that when your first general election comes along, you can go out there and vote for something you believe in.
Yes, absolutely.
Interesting. Alice,
Party.
Well, let's see. It's not there. If it's not there at the moment for you, it's not there. Interesting. Alice, thank you. Well, Alice there, a very committed, young Eurosceptic. But it is not just a problem, it seems to me. It's not just a problem of the Conservative Party. It's a problem in the Labour Party as well. And we're going to a Labour area next. We're going to Barnsley to speak to Paul, who's a new caller. Good evening, Paul.
Good evening, Nigel. Pleasure to speak to you.
Pleasure to speak to you. Now, Barnsley has been Labour for, well, forever, really, hasn't it?
Since God were a lad, yes.
Okay.
And I've been a Conservative voter for 40 years.
Oh, have you? So you've been used to being in a minority, but you've gone out and voted for it because that's what you believe in?
That's what I believed in. And to be quite honest, in the last couple of years, I would not vote for the Conservatives again. As you've rightly said, they're only interested in their own ends. The annoying part is that the European Research Group have been called all sorts of villains and, you know...
Wreckers, Paul, that's what they are.
Wreckers, basically.
Yeah.
But they're the people who've been standing up for what we... And when I say we, most of my family vote Labour, but they also voted for Brexit. My two young daughters go ballistic every time something comes on about it, because, as they've rightly said, no one is listening to us. I've got my own business, and on my news feed from business groups I'm in on Facebook, I have people from all over the country complaining bitterly. Small businesses, small business owners, self-employed, they want people to get on with the job we demanded that they do. David Cameron said it would be a one-off decision and they would act on our instructions.
They would implement it, absolutely. Paul, as an ERG supporter, and I'm with you, by the way, because I think the ERG aren't just upholding the referendum result, but they're actually upholding the Conservative manifesto, which strikes me as being really rather important. But when you heard yesterday that Jacob sounded like he was going a bit wobbly on this, that wasn't a great sign for you, was it?
No, it wasn't, and I have a great deal of respect for Jacob Rees-Mogg. I think the problem is now that they're all getting cold feet. When we get the three ministers who said they would resign, personally, if I'd have been Theresa May, I'd have said get through the door.
Yeah, but it's a very bad...
She's in a difficult position at the moment, and I admire the woman for what she's tried to do, but unfortunately, she's had a guy called Ollie Robbins there.
But she picked him, Paul.
He has been
Paul, she picked him. This is her choice. Everyone keeps saying to me, oh, Theresa's trying her best. I'm not sure she is, Paul.
Well, I don't believe she is now. After the last few months, with the way things are going, I do not believe she's even wanting us to have a clean Brexit. I think she wants, by the back door, to keep us in the EU. That is not what 17.4 million people voted for.
So do you feel, Paul, as somebody who for 40 years in Barnsley has gone out and voted Conservative, is it time this current Conservative Party was ended?
Yes, and to be quite honest, as a previous caller said, with the greatest respect to you, Nigel, and I did vote for you, or I did vote for UKIP at the previous general election because I could see the way things were going. I have one thing to say to you as an individual. If Nigel Farage created, if this deal goes through and we find we're semi-stuck in the EU, if Nigel Farage went out and created a new party, which I know there's things in the background that might be happening, I would guarantee 17.4 million people would vote for you and your party.
Well,
I'm absolutely 100% convinced.
Yeah, I think that's a big call, Paul, but it's an interesting thought. It's an interesting thought. Paul, thank you, and Paul, someone there who just does not feel represented by the party he has supported for the last 40 years. Philip says to me on Twitter, I'm an even more passionate Remainer than you are a Leaver. And I'm totally resigned to the PM's miserable deal going through on March the 12th. Neither of us will get what we want. People will suffer. Philip, I have to say, Mrs. May's deal is shocking. As I've said here over the last few days, I, of course, will face that decision myself. in Strasbourg, because that's where the final vote's going to be on the withdrawal agreement. And I will not, Philip, be voting for this deal. I very much hope that we leave on WTO terms, but I'd rather take the risk of extension than, frankly, back this deal. It just doesn't cut the mustard in any way at all. Ollie says to me, what frustrates me about MPs is that they're not representing their constituencies' views on Brexit. They're also reluctant to even... I would have thought they'd struggle to get away from this debate, because it is a debate that is dominating absolutely everything. I genuinely think that there's never been a bigger level of disconnection between voters and the established political parties. We're seeing a fragmentation, we're seeing a fracturing, we're seeing resignations from the government, from the Labour Party, indeed from the Tory Party too. I think Brexit's got the potential to completely reshape British politics if enough of you out there have lost faith and don't feel represented. And I think we're getting very close to that point. You're listening to the Nigel Farage Show here on LBC. It's 6:30 and time for the news with Philip Chrysikos.
A woman has won a retrial having appealed against her conviction for murdering her husband at their home in Surrey in 2010. 65-year-old Sally Challen has always denied murder. Israel's Prime Minister is facing corruption charges from his Justice Ministry. Benjamin Netanyahu is accused of giving favours so he'd receive positive news coverage and accepting thousands of pounds worth of gifts, including cigars and champagne. He denies all the charges. 2 teenage boys have been taken to hospital after being stabbed in East London. Police were called to a fight in Ilford just before 4 o'clock this afternoon. LBC weather, dry this evening and overnight, a low of 5 degrees. Tomorrow, showers ahead of sunny spells from the west, a high of 13 degrees.
LBC at the weekend. Andrew Castle.
Wake up. I have absolutely no sympathy whatsoever for Shamima Begum. Same thing with Jack Lett. I don't care. I wouldn't lose a moment's sleep over any of them if they didn't come back.
Leading Britain's conversation. Andrew Castle. Saturday and Sunday mornings from 7 on LBC.
Protecting your business from cybercrime is a growing priority, yet understanding how to stay ahead of potential threats is challenging. Whether you're a startup or an established business, BT is here to help. With a wide range of security-embedded products and services built especially for businesses. Find out more and enter to win a Microsoft Surface Pro tablet and Sony wireless headphones at lbc.co.uk. BT, helping business relationships stay on track.
I just got Vodafone broadband.
So have I.
Join the club. You, Brian?
Of course I've got it. I was one of the first.
Really?
Well, when I say I've got it, I mean I'm getting it.
Everyone's joining Vodafone, the UK's fastest growing major home broadband provider. Well, nearly everyone. Vodafone Pay monthly mobile customers get superfast fibre for only £21 a month, plus $9.99 up front. The future's exciting. Ready? Vodafone. Independently verified by GfK. 18-month agreement subject to credit check and availability. Terms and verification at vodafone.co.uk/broadband.
Your business has come this far, but now's your time to soar into the skies of spectacular with a fast, affordable Funding Circle business loan. With decisions in as little as 24 hours and a dedicated account manager, there's no waiting around. So join the thousands of businesses who have taken out a Funding Circle loan and help your business fly. Apply today at fundingcircle.com. Authorized and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. T's and C's apply.
Hi, I know you own a small business and I'm wondering if you're interested in some very well-paid new work. Funnily enough, did you know that about 59% of new customers don't leave a voicemail? Luckily, I'm not one of them. So call me on 074...
Don't cut off new business. Manage and divert your calls with eReceptionist so you'll never miss an opportunity again. Sign up for a free 30-day trial now at eReceptionist.co.uk. T's and C's apply. See website for details.
For everyone who wants a better deal from their broadband, for everyone who wants their price to stay put for the whole of their contract, this one's for you. At TalkTalk, we've got Britain's lowest fixed price fibre. It's just $19.95 a month for 18 months. That's lower than every other major provider, with no mid-contract price rises. And you get our powerful Wi-Fi hub for our strongest signal yet. These are just some of the reasons we're the U-Switch most popular broadband provider for 2019. So don't miss Britain's lowest fixed price fibre. Now just $19.95 a month for 18 months with no setup fee. Offer ends 14th of March. Search TalkTalk Fibre. TalkTalk for everyone. For new customers only, T's and C's apply.
Block management. 2 very simple words.
But what do they actually mean? Well, there's budget approval for starters, then service charge invoices, health and safety paperwork, cleaning, gardening, maintenance, inspections, contracts, insurance, emergency call-outs, and a whole lot more besides.
So for complete block management solutions, just remember 3 simple letters: ABC. ABC Estates will take care of all your day-to-day management, leaving you as happy as Larry. See abcestates.co.uk or call 0800 888 6688.
So, you've received a notice from HMRC inquiring into your tax affairs. Any investigation is likely to be disruptive to your business and costly, especially if you don't get the right help. At Barnes Rofe, we recommend that you seek advice straight away. Our specialist tax team will support you no matter what the issue is. For a free confidential chat, contact the tax experts at barnesrofe.com. Barnes Rofe, clever accountants for business.
This is LBC, the Nigel Farage Show. Live from Washington. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Tweet at LBC using the hashtag Farage on LBC.
I think there's great disenchantment with politics and with politicians. I'm asking, do you feel represented? Is it time for a big shake-up? Do we need completely new choices in British politics? How indeed would you vote if there was a general election? And perhaps one of the things that adds to this is the news today that MPs are getting a further 2.7% pay rise, whilst their staff only get 1.5%. Perhaps that's part of it too. But a little happy story today. A little pub, and I mean a little pub, down in Hampshire called the Wonston Arms, and it was taken on by a friend of mine, Matt Todd, 5 or 6 years ago. It was a derelict building, and he got some help from the local community. He's turned it into a pub, and he's just won Pub of the Year. He said he's flabbergasted. His little pub has beaten off the big boys. All he really wanted to do was get it in the Good Beer Guide, and he's going to come in on Sunday and talk to us. How is it, when we hear of a dozen pubs a week closing around the country, how is it that a little pub in the middle of nowhere can suddenly win Pub of the Year? A bit of good news. Back to the grimmer subject of, are we being represented by our politicians, or are we beginning to hold the whole system in contempt? I'm going to Epsom to ask John that question. Good evening, John.
Nigel, I saw that thing about the Wonston Arms as well. I'm going to go there for a pint, mate. If I see you in there, I'll definitely buy you one.
Do you know, he's an old fishing friend of mine, old fishing mate of mine, and he sort of suddenly said,
Winchester, isn't it? Near
Winchester. It's just outside Winchester. He wanted to change the direction.
I'm going to go there for a pint Monday, mate.
You will love it. You will love it. Now,
I'm going to say this. I totally agree with Paul. If you want, you will, on the 6th of May, 2021... if you want, you will be our next Prime Minister.
Do you really think that, John?
Absolutely convinced. I've been saying it for a long time. 17.4 million of us will vote for you, sir. Please, please, please put your efforts into becoming our next Prime Minister, because we will all vote for you.
Well, John,
I promise you.
John, I think there is a level of support out there in the country for me, but I don't think I could. I don't think there's much evidence to suggest that every Brexiteer would go in that direction, unless, of course, we're entering some sort of complete Cromwellian moment. I just don't know, John. But you feel we need something fresh and new, yeah?
Who are sat? Take out Nigel. Take out Jacob Rees-Mogg and one or two others. My God, mate, they're a bunch of charlatans.
And so, John, this is Leave voters feeling completely unrepresented. This is the point you're making, isn't it?
I've got no one to vote for. I've got my last MP was Sarah Wollaston. If you gave me 50 grand, I wouldn't vote for her.
but when she got when she got selected down in South Devon, she told them she was a Brexiteer, didn't she?
Yeah, she changed horses about a week before, didn't she?
Yeah.
Honestly, all of these MPs, they are charlatans, and I just want. I don't know if you could take over the Tory party or take it. I know I've been listening to what you've been saying about the Brexit party. It's a bit young, maybe. But I know that if you got in the Tory party somehow, I don't know how, but you could easily we'd all vote for you to be Prime Minister, I'm telling you now, mate.
All right, John, you're very sweet. Thank you. Thank you. I can't take any more of that. It'll go to my head. On Twitter, I used to be a Labour voter, but they have betrayed me, like many other MPs, Paul from Leeds. And look, somebody out there, please call me on 0345 6060 973 and please tell me that I and the callers and the texters and tweeters I've got tonight are all wrong. Tell me British politics is actually okay, it'll all return to normal, we'll have a high turnout of the next general election and believe in our system. Please someone tell me that, because I'm yet to find one of them. Stefan is a new caller from Hammersmith. Good evening, Stefan.
Nigel, hi. How are you?
Welcome. Yeah, Stefan, I'm just increasingly thinking that maybe big change is coming.
Nigel, can I say this is the highlight of my year speaking with you? So let me tell you, I've been a lifelong Labour supporter.
Yes.
I'm a member of the Labour Party, and all that comes to an end now. I feel completely betrayed. I'm completely with John, your last caller. Nobody represents us as Leavers. And the only political figure that has been able to reach across all the political spectrum has been you. So I'm sorry, but this is going to get to your head a little bit, like you were saying. I'm with John. You really need to run. And
well, Stefan,
we will all vote for you.
All right, Stefan, thank you. I'm flattered. I don't quite believe it, and I'm sure there'll be some polling evidence that would suggest it's not quite the case, but it is flattering, and I thank you. I'm going to go to Market Harborough and speak to Mike. Good evening, Mike. In fact, I've just lost him. I'm going to go to Sue in Dartford. Sue, good evening.
Hello, Nigel. Thank you for taking my call.
Not a bit.
I've been a long life Labour voter.
Yes.
And I'm so disgusted with the way that everything is the way everything is going on in Parliament at the moment. I don't agree that it would be a good idea to actually void the ballot paper, because I think it will just get thrown in the bin. However, I do think that you should vote, and I will certainly vote, purely because of the suffragettes fighting as long as they did for women to vote. But I would vote for the Green Party.
Would you? Okay. No, well, Sue, you're a first-time caller, so you must feel very strongly about this to have picked the phone up. So the Green Party, you think, would represent your values rather than Labour?
Well, certainly not Labour or Conservative. I would certainly consider voting for yourself.
Okay, and how did you vote in the referendum, Sue?
I voted for Labour.
Sorry, leave or remain in the referendum?
Oh, sorry, I voted, I was Brexit.
You were Brexit, which of course makes the Green... Because here's the odd thing, Sue. The odd thing we've got now is we've got a Labour Party going, pretty much there with a second referendum. We've got the Lib Dems backing a second referendum. We've got the Greens backing a second referendum. We've got Chucker and his chums backing a second referendum. There's an awful lot of people backing a second referendum. So I understand you might be very tempted by some of the Greens' policies, but they are very much a Remain party, Sue.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I need to look into that then.
Sorry. I actually voted for them once. Back in 1989, in the European elections, I voted Green, and I did consider myself then to be an environmentalist, and it was led by a sensible guy, and they were the only proper Eurosceptic party. Sorry to disenchant you, Sue. They're not anymore. Thanks for the call. Up to Cannock to speak to Martin, a new caller. Good evening, Martin.
Good evening, Nigel.
So, do you feel represented, Martin? Is everybody else wrong?
No, the two-party system is totally broken. It doesn't matter whether you're Labour, whether you're Conservative. It is now imploded upon itself. It represents nobody on anything. I'm so strongly about this that I've owned a nightclub my whole life, literally. It's the longest-running nightclub in the country, 48 years.
Yeah.
My father opened in 71. I closed it up last year for different reasons. I've now taken on the role as a chair for a new party, the Time Party, because it means that much. Within a year or so, I will stand for MP in Cannock Chase District because it means that much.
The Time Party, Martin, you say?
Yes.
Okay, what are your basic policies?
It's basically right of centre. It is a Leave party by default. There's several policies on there on agriculture, on immigration, on taxation, on banking. There's a full policy basis on there. But the difference being, it's building from the ground up. And the problem with the parties today, they are so stuck in past policies, past procedures, ways of doing things. Whenever they have anything ready, they go, oh, no, we can't do it that way. We have a procedure that we have done for 200 years, and nothing gets done.
But Martin, do you I mean, and I don't wish to sort of dampen your enthusiasm for active engagement in the democratic process one bit. Do you have any idea how tough it is to get a new party off the ground, Martin? Because I do.
You are my inspiration for this, because you had a voice. You had only one seat, but your voice was so loud. It's rumbled the very foundation.
A lot of people said that about me, Martin. Absolutely, Martin. Listen, thank you. You're trying your way. Very little faith in the whole system. David in Barnes says this has now gone beyond Brexit. This is now basically about democracy. The people we put into Parliament are not doing our bidding. They should be our servants, and that's a point I agree with completely and utterly. In a minute, we're going to talk Donald Trump. We're going to talk what was said yesterday about him by his former lawyer. We're going to talk about the Vietnam meeting. We're going to talk about where is American politics looking ahead to next year's presidential election. But for now, you're listening to the Nigel Farage Show. It's 6:45 and time for the news headlines with Philip Chrysikos.
A woman jailed for murdering her husband at their home in Surrey has won a retrial against her 2010 conviction. Israel's Attorney General says he will indict Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on a series of corruption charges pending a final hearing. An Italian national has been jailed for 3.5 years for an attack on a Liverpool football fan outside Anfield Stadium. LBC weather, dry this evening and overnight, a low of 5 degrees. Tomorrow, showers ahead of sunny spells from the west, a high of 13 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Dave Goff. There are queues on the M25 clockwise. 2 lanes are closed because of an accident between junction 29 for Romford and junction 30 for Lakeside. Also on the M25 going anti-clockwise, there are queues from junction 14 for Heathrow to junction 10 for the A3. It's after a crane broke down earlier on. It's slow to the Blackwall Tunnel, southbound from the A12 at Bromley by Bow after debris in the road earlier. There were delays on the A3, southbound from the Malden junction to the Tolworth junction after 2 separate accidents earlier on. On the trains, South Eastern have delays of up to an hour and cancellations from London Bridge to Dartford, and there's no service from Victoria to Dartford because of an investigation earlier. And on the Tube, there are severe delays on the District Line between Edgware Road and Wimbledon.
Coming up at 7 on LBC, Ian Dale.
Another government minister resigns over Brexit. We'll be asking, have you ever been a victim of coercive control in a relationship? Plus the LBC Business Hour with BT at 8.
Ian Dale on LBC.
From big business owner to small startups, the LBC Business Hour with BT answers all the questions you may have.
When it comes to selling your startup business, nobody can actually have that passion that you've got for it yourself. For me, that's why the startup failure rate is high, because they don't know how to market and sell themselves.
Join Ian Dale every Thursday evening from 8 for the LBC Business Hour with BT, helping you to be there for the moments that matter in business and LBC.
It's a kind of magic.
It's the last few days of the Furniture Village sale. With amazing final reductions on hundreds of sofas, dining and beds, including all our famous brands. So come in store or go online now. But hurry, it's your last chance to save in the Furniture Village sale.
A good cup of tea can fix everything. Well, possibly not your broken boiler. But Trusted Trader are always on hand to help. TrustedTrader.com have lots of really lovely tradespeople who are vetted, reviewed and reliable. So you'll have your pick of a great bunch. Simply pop the kettle on and head online to find a professional in their trade, including that heating engineer. See? A cup of tea does fix everything.
Think money. Hello, I'm an elephant. And remember, we never forget. What was I saying? Ah, yes, the Think Money credit card. You could get a credit limit of up to £1,500 even if you've had a bit of a wobble in the past. Plus, what was it? Yeah, with the Think Money credit card, you can check if you'd be accepted without affecting your credit score. Check if you're eligible today at thinkmoney.co.uk. Thinking of a credit card? Think Money. 39.9% APR representative variable. Think Money Limited is a credit broker. Capital One is the exclusive lender.
Do you ever feel like getting back under your duvet in the middle of the day?
Ferroglobin is a great-tasting liquid formula with iron, which contributes to the reduction of tiredness and fatigue and normal formation of haemoglobin. Ferroglobin from Vitabiotics at Boots, pharmacies and vitabiotics.com.
For everyone who wants a better deal from their broadband, for everyone who wants their price to stay put for the whole of their contract, this one's for you. At TalkTalk, we've got Britain's lowest fixed price fibre. It's just £19.95 a month for 18 months. That's lower than every other major provider, with no mid-contract price rises. And you get our powerful Wi-Fi hub for our strongest signal yet. These are just some of the reasons we're the U-Switch most popular broadband provider for 2019. So don't miss Britain's lowest fixed price fibre. Now just £19.95 a month for 18 months with no setup fee. Offer ends 14th of March. Search TalkTalk Fibre. TalkTalk for everyone. For new customers only, T's and C's apply.
Your business has come this far, but now's your time to soar into the skies of spectacular with a fast, affordable Funding Circle business loan. With decisions in as little as 24 hours and a dedicated account manager, there's no waiting around. So join the thousands of businesses who have taken out a Funding Circle loan and help your business fly. Apply today at fundingcircle.com. Authorised and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. T's and C's apply.
I know who designed Princess Di's wedding dress. I know who phoned home. I know how to do a silly walk. And I know which part of the room you should never put baby in. But I don't know my state pension.
Find out more about your state pension and how much it should be. Get to know your pension. Visit yourpension.gov.uk.
The Nigel Farage Show, live from Washington, only on LBC.
Well, we talk about Brexit and almost nothing else. Believe you me, in America, they talk about Trump endlessly because the drama is there every single day, and we were talking about it, but we haven't been talking about it for some time. I'm here in DC. I'm here for a big conference, CPAC. It's a big conservative conference, and it's a good moment to talk about Trump on the world stage, but equally Trump on the domestic stage here in America. Now, overnight, Trump had talks, of course, with Kim Jong-un. They failed because of sanctions. No agreement's been reached overnight on the denuclearization of North Korea. And here was the president leaving that summit.
It was a very interesting 2 days, and I think actually it was a very productive 2 days, but sometimes you have to walk, and this was just one of those times. Basically, they wanted the sanctions lifted in their entirety, and we couldn't do that.
So sanctions were the sticking point, and the president said, sometimes you have to walk. Are you listening, Theresa May? Sometimes no deal is better than a bad deal. Well, helping me to analyse that and much else that's going on is feature story news correspondent Daniel Wrenches. Daniel, welcome to LBC. What was your interpretation of that summit in Vietnam?
Down to brass tacks, Nigel, the South Korean government estimates that the North Koreans have about 60 nuclear warheads. That is the basic fact here. This is a nuclear-armed state. And we have a young leader in Kim Jong-un who comes from what can only be described as a dysfunctional family situation. And so you have Seoul on the border there. And the fact that Donald Trump has gone and established a personal relationship with this guy, I think most people, either on the left, the right, the South Koreans, the Japanese, the Chinese, they all think that's probably a good idea to establish that rapport and make this young leader feel good about himself. That is about as far as they've got with this second summit.
Because I have heard some voices in America saying that Trump is legitimizing, a leader who behaves terribly and people get murdered and people disappear. And some on the left here didn't sound as positive about this meeting as perhaps they ought to have done, in my view.
Well, I actually know members of the Korean community here, and some of them are very conservative, and they agree with my assessment.
Okay.
It's okay being here and sort of lecturing on the niceties of diplomacy, but when you actually live in Seoul or you have family in Seoul, you have a different perspective on this. But that's to say, the idea of a complete, verifiable, irreversible denuclearization is something that most people don't think is possible.
No, well, whatever progress, lack of progress, read it how you will, at least there are cordial relations. It would appear between these two men, and that can't be a bad thing. Now, yesterday here in Washington, D.C., I mean, it was just the most extraordinary day. We touched on it on my show last night, but just explain who Michael Cohen is and what he said yesterday.
The crucial date for Michael Cohen was April of last year, when the FBI went into his office and took everything. At that point, he had no more options to either cooperate with Mueller or not cooperate with Mueller. Everything else since then is just window dressing, and he decided he would cooperate. And that is very damaging for Donald Trump. And when he cooperated, his new lawyer, Lanny Davis, who is a very sharp operator and a very strong ally of somebody else who's been in a lot of trouble, Bill Clinton, in the past.
Which is, you can't believe this, can you? I mean, so he's been around Lanny Davis for decades doing this kind of thing.
Yeah, so if you decide to take this course, Lanny Davis is not a bad option, given his experience. And Lanny Davis probably told him, tell Mueller everything you know, don't leave anything out, because if you do leave anything out, my sweet plea deal of 3 years in jail for all of these millions of dollars you've been hiding from the American government, that will be over.
And he said some pretty brutal things about the president.
Yeah, it was a no-holds-bar fight, and it's become very personal because Donald Trump's strategy is not only to discredit this liar, he is a liar, but is also, he decided at some point to go after the father-in-law and the wife and suggest that there was impropriety there. And I think that's presented a difficulty for Michael Cohen, and you've had a period where he's been quiet, and he's decided to take this road. And when he gets out of jail, maybe he'll have a sweet deal with a publishing company.
But he's already facing 3 years in jail.
Correct.
So his testimony, I mean, on the Trump side, they would say, as you say, he's a proven liar. You can't listen to him.
Exactly. But the real point coming out of this is, I think the Democrat strategy is a sort of take the sweater and start pulling on some of the loose threads. And you saw Ocasio-Cortez, this sort of new rising star from Brooklyn, really taking the microphone and asking some very sort of sober questions about, for example, Trump's involvement in what he portrayed to an insurance company about his finances. That then provides others with an opportunity to then go and ask questions, for example, of the Trump organization. And with the House now controlled by the Democrats, they have the power to bring in these people and ask them sometimes very awkward questions.
And they could ultimately, if they chose, go for an impeachment process. I mean, that is possible, although they wouldn't have much chance of that getting anywhere when it got to the Senate stage. But tell me, I mean, we've got a very fixed timeline here. We know that the next presidential election is going to take place in November 2020, right. And already I'm seeing, people's various hats being thrown in the ring. What state are the Democrats in as a party, and is there something of an argument that one or two of these new stars that have come into the Democrat Party are actually pretty much on the hard left of the spectrum?
And I think those who are on the hard left, like Alexandria Cortez and like Elizabeth Warren, presents an opportunity for Republicans because it enables them to, in some sense, take the moderate Democrats and prize them apart. The problem for moderate Democrats in this strategic situation is that the left wing has the ability to really rally the base, just as Donald Trump has the ability to rally his base. So they have to carefully play this relationship.
And tell me, Trump himself, I mean, it's never-ending drama. It's government shutdowns, and it's demanding the walls built, and it's off to Vietnam. How is his own personal popularity at this stage of the presidency?
Well, I've got the Real Clear Politics average. It's a great way of looking at a lot of different polling data aggregated. And at the moment, the average is at 41% favourable, 54.6% unfavourable. That's pretty consistent, actually. So despite all of the different dramas that go on here in Washington, for the past couple of months, he has maintained his base.
So the Trump base is strong, and he's going to be speaking at CPAC, this big conservative conference. What do you expect him to say?
Economy is what I think his strategists will say. This is an unprecedented period of economic growth. And if he can continue this until, I think, July, he can then go to the electorate and say, I have presided over the longest period of economic growth in American history, and that would be a prize going into an election.
And he wouldn't exactly hold back, would he, on saying the great things he'd done. Daniel, thank you very much indeed for joining us. But I'll be there listening to the President speaking at that conference. I'm saying a few words at the conference myself. And then I'll be back to Brexit Britain. Thank you, all of you, for your calls that we've had over the course of this evening, of course of the week. I'll be back on Sunday morning, and we will have on Sunday morning with us the man, a friend of mine, who's won Pub of the Year. We'll look forward to that enormously. At 10 tonight, it's Tom Swarbrick. But up next, it's Ian Dale.
Pub of the Year. What could possibly go wrong, Nigel? Thank you very much indeed. Right, coming up on my show between now and